started, as I do every year, just want to let everybody know we're aware that Veterans Day is tomorrow. It's an awesome national holiday. I want to thank our nation's veterans for all their hard work, what they did. You know, we'll be here working, obviously, and I know you guys will probably have the day off and won't be doing much tomorrow. But all joking aside, many thanks to our nation's veterans. You know, as far as where we're at, you know, it's good to get the win. It always makes things a little easier and a little better to be able to come back to work off of a win. Got back to work Sunday. Watched the video. There's always things that we can learn from, and there was many things that happened out there that we can learn from. And went outside and had a good spirited Sunday night practice, and also flipped the switch and moved on to the Texas Longhorns just as quick as we possibly could. You know, Texas has great personnel, great coaches, great resources, great facilities, darn near every advantage that you can ask for. So, you know, we got our work cut out for us this week. There's no question about that. Looking forward to playing at home again. You know, and feeding off the positive energy that Mountaineer Field holds and our fan base brings. What the fans do affects our players both positively and negatively. You know, we need everybody to come and be ready to you know, cheer loud and make it a great Big 12 environment on Saturday. I know it's noon kick again. I know people get upset about the noon kick. There's obviously nothing that we can do about that, but you know, regardless, it's another opportunity to be able to come watch a storied program from Texas and watch the Mountaineers get out there and play their heart out, which I know that all of them will once again here this Saturday. As far as Texas personnel, you know, just where they're at, 4 and 5. You know, they've played a tough schedule. You know, just like we have. They've played a tough schedule. They've lost some close games. You know, you know, they're a very young team. They've got lots of true freshmen. They've got lots of redshirt freshmen. They're playing a ton of bodies. I'm talking like almost 3 deep on some of these defensive spots. They've played. Their starting lineup's been all over the place. You know, offensively, they've had a lot of different bodies in and out of the games and all that. I think they've obviously made a decision that they're going to play a lot of different people to try to figure out who are going to be their dudes for the future. Their bodies look the same as what they've looked like since I started competing against Texas back in 2000. They got lots of good 4 and 5 star players that have, you know, looked the part and a lot of times play the part. Offensively, they're going to try to run the ball. Just because they switched quarterbacks week 3 and went with the freshman Hurd really hasn't changed a whole lot of what they've done. He throws the ball around a little bit more, but you know, you got to account for him in the run game. You know, they got 2 good quality backs in Gray and Foreman that are going to run the ball a good bit. You know, up front, they're starting a couple of young guys, but you know, they've got a decent rotation. I know Coach Wickline's coaching those guys up hard to be able to continue to get better. They're a run-first team. They're going to run it all over the place, and we got to be physical, and we got to stop the run just like we focus to each and every week. Looks to me like 4 or 5 of these receivers are guys that will be playing for a long time. They're long, they're fast, they're athletic. You know, they'll continue to improve their timing, just like I've been talking about improving our timing. That's going to continue to improve. Do a great job of taking care of the football. They've only had seven turnovers in 9 games. So that's the one thing that stands out, you know, is that they do a great job of protecting the ball, and they're going to continue. They spread the ball around to a lot of different people, and they're going to continue to get better. Defensively, you know Charlie's background with defense, and I think they're playing great on defense. I really do. I thought they were potentially the best defense we faced last year. I had 4 or 5 guys that were on last year's team that are into the NFL. But you know, you look at them and you can say how they've kind of been up and down as a team. But defensively, I don't see that. I see a bunch defensively that's playing hard. They're playing a lot of different bodies. They're playing a lot of young guys. Their scheme's the same as it's always been with Charlie running the show. They're in a good place. You know, they don't have effort issues defensively. They don't have assignment busts or taking plays or games off. They're giving up about 4.5 yards a play, which is really good. They're one of the best teams in the country in sacks, tackles for loss. Play a lot of different man coverage with great athletes. Even though some of them are young, they're still some of the better athletes across the country. So it's going to be a huge challenge for us. They do a great job of mixing up their fronts and trying to get a bunch of bodies into the gaps to stop the runs. So we got our work cut out for us, and we're going to have to do some creative things to be able to run the ball. And then, you know, with the protection and you know, them giving us opportunities to throw it, we've got to be able to execute better than we did a week ago. Special teams, solid as always. You know, a couple of good, really good return guys. Got a new punter who's shown really a lot of signs of being able to be a difference maker. Coverage units are good, and you know, just like any team with unbelievable talent, they got good guys in the back. So our job doesn't stop. You know, they may not have a return guy that's like leading the nation or anything. That seems like we've been going against guys that at that point in time they were leading the nation and whatever that return is. They've got quality guys that we're going to have to cover hard on. So overall, it'll be a big test for us. One that I know our guys are looking forward to. And we'll get out there and get back to work today and hopefully prepare the way we need to be able to win. So with that, I'll take some questions.
Dean, after 5 straight spread offenses, is it difficult for your defense to readjust to a run-first team?
I don't think so. Just, I mean, Oklahoma was going to run the ball. We did a good job of slowing that down. Baylor, you can say they're spread, but they're a run-first football team. Oklahoma State is a run, without a doubt, a run-first football team who continuously gets better at that. I mean, we even faced Texas Tech, who likes to throw the ball 100% of the time. I mean, they even tried to run the ball as much as they possibly could. So, you know, plus they go against us, which we've turned into, you know, like the ultimate ground and pound team ever. You know, we've competed against them for quite some time. So you know, there's a lot of they will use more tight ends, more quarterback stuff. They're physical. I mean, it's a little different. But with that said, I mean, everybody tries to do that now. It seems like, I mean, be able to be spread and be able to throw the ball when you need to, but you still got to be able to run it. Our job is to stop those guys. We got to account for those quarterbacks, and then when they put the ball in the air, we got to cover.
Yeah, what's your stance on 2 quarterback systems? What do you see as the positives and negatives of that approach?
Yeah, I mean, we've always just went with one. I mean, it's no secret that you know, that's the way I've done things when I've been here. It's the way we've always done it for the last 15 years. There's some teams out there having some success with it. I think what Texas is doing, they're having some success with it. Oklahoma State certainly having some success with it. If I would promise you that if they had, you know, their choice, that everybody would have one that you kind of go with, and you ride them until you can't ride them anymore. So that's what our philosophy is anyway.
Why have you resisted, or I guess not been tempted to try 2 quarterbacks?
Well, because you decide on one, you give that one the reps, you get them ready to play, and that guy typically starts elevating his game.
Dana, you've talked about Skylar being really good in the run game in terms of getting you into the right plays. I guess, what exactly are his responsibilities on a given play to do that?
It's many different things. I mean, you got to look at the play that we gave you. You may have to flip that play to you know, the other side, you know, that mirrors that play, or a completely different play altogether based on what we've seen throughout the week and with the film and the tips and all that stuff. You know, that's stuff that he's really embraced and done good with. He does that probably as good as any quarterback I've been around, just understanding the run game, looking for the different looks, and getting us into the right play. You got to go from run to pass, you know, as far as when you pull it and when you throw it. There's been times where they can outnumber you in the box, and you can continue to run it up in there if you want to, but one of those guys is going to be unblocked, so at that point you might want to change the play altogether to a true pass play with different protections and stuff. He's got the authority to be able to do that. He sees it and does a good job with that. And then there's the element of being able to go forward with your feet. And he does a good job of knowing when to pull the ball on some of this read stuff that we're doing, or us being able to empty the box and do some draws or some different run game opportunities with him. He does a good job with that. I think he protects the ball good. I think he moves forward, reads the box good. So they got to account for him as well. So it's kind of a collection of all that stuff.
You know, along those lines, it almost sounds like you have two quarterbacks, so to speak. I don't know if that makes sense, but you kind of built this system, almost a package where it's different than what you've done before. It's almost like, I don't want to say herd and swoops, but it's kind of like the different quarterbacks, is it not?
As far as
You add in the run game stuff to some of your more traditional passing games.
yeah, we've clearly went that direction. It doesn't take you long to throw the film on to see that we're doing that more than we're doing, you know, the old school pass game air raid type stuff, you know. So whatever you got to do to move forward, whatever you got to do to get first downs, that's what we're going to do.
Has personnel dictated that a little bit? Your change, your move in that direction?
Yeah. I mean, some of it's philosophy. Some of it's, you know, we made a decision a couple of years ago to kind of move towards this direction with what we're doing up front, and you know, without adding the quarterback to the, you know, with the reads and the powers and the draws and all that stuff. We made an effort 3 years ago. That's why Ron's here, because he knew a lot of that kind of, you know, put your hand down in the dirt and go forward with it. you know, and then adding Skyler with his feet, and his ability to be able to understand it, you know, is kind of taking it another step forward. I'd prefer it not to be the only thing that we're doing. You know, I'm not naive. I understand we have to do better in the pass game. You know, we completed a little over 50% of our passes. Got 7 first downs, you know, 150 yards, you know, average 12.4 yards of completion. It's not where I want to be.
Is that more of a timing issue at this point?
You know, we've talked about this a lot. You can blame it on timing. You can pinpoint inexperienced receivers. You can pinpoint some drop balls that have had an impact. You can talk about confidence. You can talk about pass protection. You can, you know, talk about accuracy, where the ball's going from point A to point B. All that stuff's got to improve. You know, it'd take me probably a little while to be able to list the order of what the problem is, but they're all in there somewhere.
Is there a completion percentage and a yards per pass, or I guess completion that you have in mind, or is kind of the target?
66% completion is always what we've shot for. Yards per completion, I've never thought of it that way. You know, you want to average 400 yards a game or 300 yards a game. I don't look at it that way either, because what the defense dictates a lot of that. If we're going to face a team that's going to drop 8, we're not going to just sit there and throw the ball a lot. They're not going to let people behind you. You know, we're not going to have a high, you know, yards per completion. You know, right now our yards per completion is high because people stop the run and we're able to connect on balls downfield. I haven't done that as much as I'd obviously want to here over the last 2 games, but that's what we have. The one thing in the pass game that we've done a decent job of is attacking people deep and being able to complete those balls deep.
You made some changes on the offensive line last week. Do you see that continuing with what the group you're all out there, or the other guys moving back in the mix?
Yeah, you know what? Yadi's, you know, he wasn't ready to go last week. We'll see what it looks like today. But you know, one of the things that really helped us in the run game was by moving Panky back inside. He's just more comfortable inside, and he's really good at especially in the run game and coming off the ball, and having him and Tyler Orlowski, who's obviously our most consistent and best lineman. And then Kyle Bosch had his best game last week. So those three guys on the inside really allowed that run game to get going. So we'll keep looking at it and evaluating it and keep practicing some other guys to the point where we get what we want to out of these guys.
Did you mention that you started to turn your offense to run 3 years ago? Why? What was it you were seeing? You said, you know what, we better start running the ball better because obviously you were an air raid guy.
I never claimed to be.
That's what you used a lot.
I've never used that.
Uh-huh.
I've never used that. But, I don't know, maybe it was a mistake. No, I'm just picking. But, yeah, I just think you just got to continue to evolve a little bit. And that's just the area that I wanted to be able to continue to evolve at. I think it's, again, it's without going through exactly how everything's transpired over the last 6 years. I wanted to do a little bit something different than what everybody else in the league was doing. So now we just got to continue to get better at it.
Did climate play any part in that? In your thought there?
Not really.
Coach, this is your first victory without Carl Joseph. What are you guys continuing to do to prepare and account for his absence? He's obviously one of the best defensive players you've had here in a long time.
Yeah, just gotta, just keep lining up and keep playing, keep improving. I hadn't really looked at it that way. He's not gone. He's still a part of what we're doing. Met with the seniors last week. He was right there in the middle of that meeting. Had as big a voice as anybody. Was the first one in the locker room after that game. So he's still a part of what we're doing and still wants to win as much as anybody. So we got to continue to develop the identity that we have defensively. We're still leaning on a lot of upperclassmen, older guys that have played a lot of ball here. And I think those guys I think it means a lot to them. So they're going to give us everything that they got. It's going to take another big performance defensively again this week in order to get another win.
And the role of the football team and the football staff at Missouri in the social thing. What's your views on what your athletes' responsibility is and things like that, and coaching staff on it?
Well, we're in a leadership role. There's no question. Both the coaching staff and the players are in a role where what they say is going to make a difference, not only in this building, on this university, and that's just kind of the situation that we're in. So we need to embrace that, and we need to understand that what we do and what we say makes a difference on the outside. I haven't followed that specific situation as much as probably y'all have. I've got a lot of respect for Gary Pinkel. That he's a great leader, and he's won a bunch of ball games.
What have you seen on film in terms of how Texas attacks the quarterback? Are they just blitzing from everywhere?
Blitz as much and as often as anybody I've seen.
From secondary guys, linebackers,
You name it. They'll look like we'd look at times with the stack things up with 3 D linemen, 3 backers, an outside DN linebacker type, 2 safeties, free safety down. A lot of interchangeable people with corners coming off the edge. They blitz as much and as different many ways as I've seen in a long time. So not only can their 3D line get there, they got an abundance of other ways of getting there as well.
Including Tuesdays and Wednesdays against Gibby?
I'm sorry?
So as much as you've seen.
Oh yeah,
Tuesday
without a
and
doubt.
Wednesdays?
Yeah, without a doubt. So there'll be some familiarity with the 3-man fronts stuff, where they're all coming from and all that. Both T.O. and Stone, and even our guards and our quarterbacks have seen a lot of that. So we're gonna have to ID it. And then comes the challenge of being able to block the people man man for man. So it's challenging with what they do.
You know, I know it was almost a lifetime ago, but is it unique that you and Charlie went up against each other in a different conference, and what's the relationship like between you guys now?
Yeah, we've talked about that a little bit. You know, and some of the we don't spend a whole lot of time together other than some of this Big 12 stuff that we do. Obviously, backgrounds are completely different, but you know, there's been some of the talks about what it was like in the Big East, and you know, a little bit different now. You know, in the Big 12 and the quality of the teams week in and week out, and you know how it's a challenging, difficult conference. You know, me and Cliff were talking about that before the game as well. I mean, it's as challenging, and I've been in the Big 12 for 15 years now, and it's as challenging as it ever has been. And it doesn't matter who you're playing. You know, it does not matter who you're playing. I mean, if you had 10 years ago, if you had said that Baylor and TCU were doing what they're doing in the Big 12, I'd have called you crazy. So it's a challenging league, but you got to understand that's what you signed up for, and you got to line up each and every week, and you better be ready to play.
When do you remember, Dana, that first time that you saw Karan Wyatt play?
Oh, I liked him. Obviously, there's a little bit of a history there just because of the older brother. But, you know, knew he was there. He popped in once or twice, and, you know, who are you? And found out who he was, and would start following him. So watched him up at Lackawanna, and, you know, thought he had ability and talent. And, you know, the academic part of it, he flourished with up there and got his degree real quick, which that allowed him to be able to transfer early. So having him for 3 years is gonna pay dividends toward at the end. He's only been here a few months, you know, so he's just now getting his feet wet.
You know, like between his name and kind of his build and his appearance, comparisons to his brother in some ways almost kind of seem unavoidable. Is he someone, even kind of at his young age and early stage of his development, is he someone who seems, you know, to be fairly comfortable with that?
Yeah, I mean, we've probably been a little bit more conscious of it than he has, just because it's not fair. It's not fair to compare him to, you know, to you all right, Mike? It's not fair to compare him to Kevin just because of the year that Kevin had. You know, so that's building expectations that are not fair to put on anybody. With that said, I mean, there's the name, there's the look. There's the style of play. So, you know, at this point, who cares? You know, he's comfortable with where he's at. He knows he's got a chance. He's on track. There's no question he's on track. Now, whether he can end up having that kind of a year at some point in the future, it has something to do with who the quarterback is and the relationship that exists, and who the other receivers are, and all that to have that kind of a year. But he's on track. He did some things in this game that I didn't see out of Kevin until senior year.
Okay, thanks, Coach.